All right, I'm going to do a recap on the damage report and kind of the lean condition update. As you guys seen in the last video, pretty upset, just super stressed out. We had a real long day on Friday. Um, to give you guys the quick rundown on Friday, I had checked over the car Wednesday, started it up, kind of went over everything. Friday, we get ready to go to the track, and the car won't start. I was already running a little bit late, and kind of the long story short is the carburetor had fuel in the bowls, but neither accelerator pump was working. But I knew the accelerator pumps were good and working 2 days before. So I'm like, man, what could possibly be going on? So I took the carburetor all apart to figure out that there's actually a check valve is what I'd call it in the accelerator pump circuit, and both of them were stuck. I think what contributed to it was two things. One, I put it on the trans brake and was tuning the carburetor to get it up on the trans brake Wednesday, and I put it on the trans brake and then let it run for about a minute and shut it off. I never hit the accelerator again to make those work. And what happened there is the boost rushes in the carburetor, slams those check valves shut, and then it sat for 2 days, and they kind of corroded enough to stick. I'm 100% sure if I would have just like really jammed the throttle a few times, it would have unstuck them, but I wasn't about to do that. I wanted to figure out what was going on. So we got that straightened out, but then we were running 2 hours late to the track. The problem with that is the later we get to the track, the worse the track gets. They kind of lightly prep the track to the 330, sometimes the 8th, but the track is never good on a Friday night. It's not that big of a deal. We make the car work, but the later it gets in the day, it can get pretty hairy. So being 2 hours late, I knew the track was going to be slick, and it was, and that's why we were knocking the tire off. So we just kind of had quite the adventure before we even got to the track. And like I said, we got to the track, the lean condition was still present. We kind of recapped that in the other video. But then last pass, shot oil everywhere. This breather was soaked with oil. It looked like it shot out this side and dripping down. Well, I borescoped all the cylinders. Somewhere I have all my notes, but basically the cylinders all borescope great. The eyebrows are still on all the pistons. The leak down was best cylinder was 8 point. I'm gonna say 8.8%, something like that. The worst one was exactly 10%, 10% even. So that's absolutely fine with this application. A lot of your stock bottom end LS stuff is like 10 to 15%, and I've seen guys at 20%. To me, that's too much. But leak down was good, borescope's good, compression was good. Compression was 170 to 175 on all the cylinders. No variance in between. It was either 170 or 175, and it was just like 170 on this one, 175 on that one, 170 on that one, 175 on that one. So just real consistent. Everything looked good there. So again, why did we shoot oil out of the breather? This seemed really strange. I couldn't quite figure it out. Well, I'd never started the car since Friday night, just because I didn't want to do any more damage. I wanted to thoroughly check everything before I started it up. And one thing I noticed Friday night, like 1, 2 in the morning, was there was a lot of oil down here by the crank snout. I got underneath the car, pried the converter back and forth, and checked thrust. The crank thrust was fine. I grabbed the harmonic balancer, just in checking the thrust, didn't notice anything there. I grabbed the bolt for the harmonic balancer, just my fingertips, just to make sure there wasn't like a gap in there, and there wasn't. I should have put a ratchet on it, but I didn't. So long story short, I fired it up yesterday. Literally I'd say within 1 minute, probably closer to 30 to 40 seconds of running, I noticed something looked weird with the harmonic balancer. It looked like it was moving at a much slower RPM than what it normally does. So I just revved up the engine like 500 RPM, so from like 800 to 1300 RPM, and I noticed the harmonic balancer move forward and back. And I'm like, whoa, did are my eyes playing tricks on me, or did I just see that? So I did it again. Sure enough, shut the car off. So like I said, I was running for less than a minute, and boom, there's our problem. But what it was is, so grab the harmonic balancer, pried on it, seemed tight. Took the belt off, harmonic balancer was loose. Took the bolt out with my fingers, took the harmonic balancer off by hand. Basically, what had happened is the bolt had backed off of the dampener, harmonic balancer, and let it walk forward, and that was slinging oil directly onto that breather. Now, if you look, there's no oil on the hood, no oil on this side at all. Just craziest thing is just the way the belt routing was. It was just slinging it right on that breather tank. So that was our problem. So that makes me feel good. That's why we didn't find anything in any of the cylinders. But now we got to address this problem. There's some good news and some bad news involved. I ended up pulling the oil pump, pulling the oil pan just enough to get the oil pump out. And the damper itself is destroyed, which I really, it sucks, but I don't care if that makes sense. I'll accept that. So it's basically, it's egged out. If you look, it's got some chatter marks right here. Here's our bolt. I did make sure the bolt does tighten up. I only torqued it to like 55 foot-pounds. It does seem like the threads are okay. I am a little nervous, but I'm going to clean them up, kind of brake clean the threads out, and then red Loctite it. I've got a new bolt on the way, a new balancer, dampener on the way, and then the other thing that happened is our oil pump drive gear. It's cracked right there at my fingernail, right through the keyway, all the way across. It's kind of hard to see. Let's set this down, see if it'll zoom in. You can see the chatter marks here, and there's a crack right there. And I'm imagining it's really hard to get that to zoom. You can see it if you... I'm going to imagine that cracked from this chattering around because there was no tension on it at all and just walking back and forth on the keyway. So basically what sucks about that is you do have to order a new timing chain to get that part. I actually had another one, but I think I threw it away from replacing a timing chain set. But we've got all the parts ordered. I'm going to do a few things different, and we'll get this side of it all buttoned up. I'm going to add the keyway to the harmonic balancer. Basically, this crankshaft does have a spot for the keyway, but the old balancer, the key for the crank did not match the key for the balancer. And I could not come up with one, so just like factory, we just used the bolt. Now I've got a balancer that hopefully the keyways are going to match. So that's going to be keyed. Hopefully get this thing wrapped up by the end of the week, probably Thursday, Friday. I rewired the fuel pump completely. New relay, got rid of the booster pump, changed the ground, just went through the wiring of the pump completely. I didn't like a couple things there. I tested the booster pump. There was nothing wrong. It was putting out 18 volts, exactly what it should. But the one thing I did notice is, kind of a long story short, is the signal wire for the relay was causing the relay to pulse intermittently. Now, I don't know if that was just because of the way I was testing it, or if that was a problem, but basically I changed that wiring around for that can never happen again. So we potentially found our lean problem being that relay pulsing, and we fixed the wiring, and then we found our oil issue with the harmonic balancer coming loose. So hopefully we're going to get this deal straightened out. After this, I got some projects to get back on, but I'm hopeful to have this thing wrapped up this week. And I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing, and I'll continue to make videos like this and keep you guys posted. Like I said, this is what racing's all about. Things break, bolts come loose. It's just a good reminder to always go over the car really well. This was my fault. I should have checked over the car better. Just no excuses. That was my fault. So I appreciate CSU and Aeromotive and all of the supporters we have out there. Thanks, guys.